Please welcome the filmmaker, Katharina Wyss. Welcome. This is a very intense experience, I think. Sometimes people need a little time to decompress from it a little bit, because you let us get so deep into the mind space, was the word I think you used in an interview, of this character, the main character. I think just to start, I mean, could you tell us a bit how you found the main actress and how you worked with her to create this character, get into this character?
Well, we were looking for young actors, actually non-actors, because it's shot in a western part of Switzerland, and there's not many professional young actors at that age. And so we did like castings in, theater classes like the one shown. I mean, different most than the one shown or invented in the film. Yeah, and so we just went in all these classes, and then in one of them there was this one girl, and the professor, she told us this one very special young woman, and then I invited her to the casting, and then I just immediately was very impressed, because I had been working with a lot of teenagers during also the process of writing, and I did workshops with them, and so I had quite some experience what I could do with them, and how easily they would go and show emotions in the play, and with her it was really different, and it was much more immediate the way she was expressing something, and so.
Yeah, and I mean, what's remarkable about her and her character is there's such a porousness, between her own personal emotions and what she's experiencing, in the theater, and when she's creating characters. She just seems everything's right on the surface and very, very immediate. I mean, how does that play out when you're directing? Did you have to, at any point, did you have to say, like, you have to tone it down a little, or you have to bring it out a little? How do you guide that kind of raw, talent or raw emotion?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of, like, 1.5 years of preparation with her, actually. I mean, it's not like we were working all the time, but I guess I was, like, bringing her into the universe of this girl, and there was like different steps, and then was like one time when I filmed with her alone, and we were like filming in the streets of that city, and we were just like making the inner space of Sarah. So I was telling her, she was talking to all these imaginary friends, because she was alone when we were shooting, so she had no partners to play, and I was like, now you're gonna, like, you're gonna play with your brother as if he would be here. and so I think we filled up this inner world of hers, like how she would talk to people in her mind. But we did it in the city, on different places in the city, so where we also shot later. So I think we kind of made some, like, a secret world of hers. And this went on also in the shooting. There was like it was terrible, I think, for the crew, but this thing when they go to the torture, they stand in downstairs in these imaginary scenes. There was like some stuff we shot in a room upstairs also with like the actual torture, which we didn't put in the film. But then we had this place, and the set designers had to design everything, and it was more and more rooms. And I was always saying, like, this is Sarah's soul, and I don't know how we're going to use it, but we need to do it now. And it was a really sad place, and it was like, okay, and this is like Sarah's childhood here, and so I think we spent the whole half a day or evening or I don't know, shooting these scenes, and I was going completely off script, and everybody was just thinking, what's she doing? And I didn't know either what I was doing, because I mean, we were on a tight schedule. I couldn't actually really afford doing that, but it was really between her and me that I think we were just talking, the two of us, and I was really nasty to everybody else and to the cameraman, and I was like, the cameraman, he doesn't get Sarah's soul, he doesn't understand it. And I was always telling Loane, these guys are all assholes, they have no idea, they don't know. It was really, really, really tense, and And then afterwards, I realized that it was really the beginning of the shooting, that it was like this deal I made with her that, nobody would touch Sarah's soul, and that kind of I would protect it against everybody, And I think these were the things that made it possible to go. And then it was with her always really, I always felt like when I was starting to talk to her as, not separate clearly between Loane and Sarah, that she was getting messed up. And then I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I know I have to put the borders again. And it was also always trying not to know anything personal from her, because I knew the journey was like quite dangerous emotionally for her, as not having any tools to you work with emotions as an actor, and I guess with the time you learn better and better to use them and to know how to work with them, and she doesn't have that, and so I mean there was like biggest part of my energy, of course, was on that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you have to protect her in the process. Yeah. I mean, the character is so interesting as in terms of, I mean, not to put a label on this, but part of this is a female coming of age kind of story as a part of it. And as a character, you don't avoid the dark places. You don't avoid the annoying places about her character. It seems really important to you that this character, we kind of see all sides of her.
Yeah, there was in the writing process, I guess, and that's where the co-author helped me a lot. Josa, I said in the interview that like I asked him at a certain point to write all these inner monologues for all the scenes, and so we had like this like second script of inner monologues, and from that we rewrote the scenes. To give her all these sides, and because I mean it started like from a research on a story, one story in particular, then other stories came, and a lot of things went in, but that was like a story from a lot of people telling from the outside, talking about one person from the outside, and so this was always this blank that I was interested in, to say, okay, but there's somebody in the middle who can't speak for herself anymore, and what is it to be her, and I think, when you talk about people, maybe there's a lot so somebody said, maybe you say just nice things, or I don't know. It's just you judge, and it wasn't. I didn't want that. I didn't want also that the way the story was told, you could easily like judge or know better than her, or understand everything, but like more to be with her in this moment of youth where you don't have your own story yet. You don't know what's going on really, and not that to know better than her.
Yeah, I mean, you don't try to make her into a hero or into like a cool anti-hero, that she's like rebellious or something. You're genuinely concerned for where she's going to head as she's going along. I mean, and I also think you make a really interesting use of the milieu, the theater milieu of, and even high school or amateur theater. A lot of times I feel like in cinema, when I try to describe this movie, I'm like, it's set in a theater, but it's not like a fun game like Revette or something. It's not like there's something mysterious in that regard. Like there are real emotions that are at stake. I mean, what were there any particular like film influences for you in like finding this framework, or?
You mean about theater?
Yeah.
I thought about, because I walked down 42nd Street, I thought about Vanya on 42nd Street from Louis Malle, which was now such but I watched like these kind of films that have been working with
behind the scenes.
With they're working on this play, Onkel Vanya from Chekhov, and at the same time things are going on in their relationships that are related to that. Yeah. But no, it was more really inspired by like my own experiences and also my co-author who also played in this kind of youth theater group. So
maybe we can go to the audience for some questions.
Hi, I just want to ask you to focus in on the subplot having to do with the friend who has a boyfriend who has or might have AIDS. Is that the whole thing in miniature, or is that a counterpoint, or what's the role of that subplot?
The subplot with the AIDS friend, yeah? I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'm going to try. Yeah, this was like, they were, I mean, they once were much more of these subplots, so now we reduce them like this. And this came out actually of many interviews we made, because in the casting process we always took a lot of time with the teenagers we had, like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, even, you know, often when you just see somebody for casting, we just do it very quickly, but we didn't want to do that. So we talked to all of them. So we kind of got this feeling for the teenagers in Switzerland in that kind of universe. And they were talking a lot about AIDS. And I don't know, somehow about something they're really afraid of, and it was AIDS. And that's how the story came into this. To this character, to this other girl who's kind of lying also, or you don't know exactly what she's, you know, is this true now, and who's clearly having a sexuality, and Sarah not. And so it was to bring in this other experiences.
Kind of incorporating, you know, typical fears that are with people you're working with. I think we had one in the front here, if we could come up. Yeah.
Hi, thanks. I'm very curious about the relationship between between Sarah and the father, the character of the father. Did that develop over time? And how do you see that relationship?
Develop over time, you mean in the process of the writing?
Well, you talk about how you worked with Sarah to develop the sort of inner life of the character and so forth.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you took the same care with the relationship between the father and the daughter.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that was like maybe in the middle of the process of script writing. It came. It wasn't there all at the beginning, and then it's something that more and more I got the feeling was really important to have, like, as a centerpiece, which is shown and not shown at the same time. So there's this moment in the car, and really other moments, which is like clearly like an abusive relationship between the father and the daughter, and so for me it's like an anchor point of the whole thing, of the whole imagination of this torture, and you know, that she's kind of testing out how shocking things can you tell to somebody, and how do the people react, and will they want to listen to me or not. And so so I think there's many moments with the father, and also when he's doing like this kind of Wagner play with the kids, and they have to play that, and so it's always there, I think, and it's there when she's like, you know, the little sister wants to sit in front of the car, and she says no, she's not allowed to sit in front, and so on. This is like the small moment where she's, I think, trying to protect the sister and say, no, it's not. So yeah.
I mean, it's also nice how you handle it, that there's not like a cause and effect relationship. It's like not the explanation for all of her behavior somehow. It's just part of her experience as well.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, somehow it is the cause. But
I mean, but not this. I don't know.
It's experienced in a way, or you know, or shown that I hope is this. You know, maybe her also knowing somehow is not okay the way it goes, but maybe not also hiding it for herself, or like trying to to not be conscious of it, or so I wanted it to be like that.
I'm left with profound sadness, which is the message that I receive from this film. Within your own heart, was this an exploration that developed over time, or was this a vision that you had before the film was made? Because there's no escape from the sadness in this film. So what is in you, or what has been, was it something that was whole? Was the film whole before you made it?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it was, maybe I can say, okay, maybe like this way that, you know, there was this film Mouchette from Robert Bresson about this young girl who's really poor, and her mother's really sick, and then there's also like this moment of abuse with the guy in the forest, and she kills herself in the film. And for me, it was always like the saddest movie in the world. And I was like, okay, then I want to make it really sad. I mean, I'm not going to compete with Bresson, but it was clear that it was really about this pain. I don't know, some Italian film critic found a word for this, like, exploration of this feeling of pain and sadness, and that this is it, and that it's like, but always, I think also out of like a compassion to be with her through that. And that this was the feeling in the making of the film, that I kind of, to go with Sarah through all this and this sadness, and in the end, not letting her alone with it, I think. So.
You think that she's quite a unique actor to be able to bring that to the screen and bring that to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I find her remarkable. Yeah. And how old is she? I don't even.
Well, she was 17 when
yeah.
she played, and now she's 19.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also thought that of. I don't know if you've seen or have any interest in Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, because of the Laura Palmer and the father being kind of this. It looks like a very bourgeois family, but there's this, darkness, abuse at the heart of it, and how it seems to be kind of opened up maybe into something that's unspeakable. That's like the feeling that I had of it, that there's this like unspeakableness to the anguish that she suffered, and I guess I wondered if you had any interest in that film, which is something that I thought of, or melodrama in general, I guess, because of melodrama being something that's, about something that's inexpressible. It comes out in these bodily ways or in these other, kind of displaced ways. So I just wondered if you had any interest in that genre.
Yeah, both. I mean, the Twin Peaks was, I think sometimes we talked about it with people who I was working on the film, like this Fribourg, the city, which you don't get to discover, of course, in that way, like Twin Peaks, Yeah. But there was a feeling about that, and about all the, there's been, I don't know if it's, there's a lot, the suicide rate, I think, in Switzerland is pretty high compared to other countries, and the city is built on these rocks, and you have all these bridges, and so there's a lot of suicides actually, of people jumping down the bridges or the rocks, and so this is really present in the city, and the woods are really near, and you have this, this feeling of them being present somehow, all these people you hear about, and then there's this girl who died, and there is other girl, and this, all during the process of making the film, I spent a lot of time in the city. I grew up in the city, but then I live in Berlin, but then I went back and I really worked there a lot, and so there was this kind of Twin Peaks thing about it, even also about like the mystery of why these girls always kill them. And it's also boys, but the ones I heard of were always girls, and almost like a mystery. So and so that's like the beginning of when to make the film was like these experiences when I was that age, and there was this feeling of like in Twin Peaks, we're this normal place in Switzerland, and we live in a very healthy way, and the schools are really good, and we're not poor, and everything's fine. But then there's this stuff going on, and what's that? And this violence suddenly coming from somewhere, and in Twin Peaks it's also this like kind of story of abuse. With the father and so on. And so I can really connect to that, and also with melodrama. yeah, I'm sure like Douglas Sirk or something. This is really, I mean, I love these films.
Yeah.
And so like in the German tradition, you know, Fassbinder who was really inspired by Douglas Sirk. And so this is really what I love. And also to go far with the emotions and to express them and to show them actually. And I think in German cinema, actually it's more the other tradition that's more dominant about is not being able to express them and, you know, so, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's like you and Fassbinder are making up for lost time, lost ground, lost ground. I just want to ask. I'm curious. You know, having seen this film, I'm very curious what you're going to work on next for a next project. If you can talk about it.
Yeah, but I mean, I am so afraid of it, but because it's been I've made this big historical research about this kind of resistant, or maybe I would some whistleblower or traitor or whatever people are called, that kind of thing. But it's like Second World War and going to the after war and Cold War and. I just had to research that, and it's become very big as a universe. And right now, I'm kind of wondering how I'm gonna handle this universe. And you know,
So you're still deep in the forest on that one.
I'm deep in the forest. It's like another Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
So also like a secret that has never been solved. You know, actually, I really like unsolved secrets, and I have to take care always that I don't get lost.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we probably have to wrap up. Is that right? Yeah. Unless there's any last question? No. Okay. Well, Katharina, thank you so much for your film and for being here.
Thank you, Nicolas, for inviting me. Really, thank you.